Why do you have a website? We are going to answer that question today. My name is George Weiner, and this is Whole Whale TV. We're going to jump into it. First off, this is a very basic question, but if you are watching this video, you've been in that meeting. You've been in that meeting where maybe it's your boss, your stakeholders, your board members, whoever it may be, is like, we dump all this money into the website. Why do we have this thing? What are we trying to do with it? And one of the big things that Whole Whale does is help nonprofits and social impact organizations get from this place of, you know what, here's a brochure with a donate button, and then here is a website that is actually driving towards your long-term impact. And the key to answering the question is in this idea of the digital impact chasm. And here's, this graphic of how you think about what you're doing versus what you hope to accomplish, that long-term outcome. And in the middle, there's a digital impact chasm. This chasm is deep because we're creating content. We're creating social media posts. We're doing all of this work online, and then we're saying, you know what we're doing? We are helping raise awareness around HIV. We are, furthering the mission of our organization by XYZ, and making the case can be very difficult. Fortunately, we're very good at building a bridge across this. The idea, though, is that we're kind of getting trapped. We're getting trapped in this idea of loss, but at least we're making great time on the web. We get stuck in the how many monthly visits and sessions do we have? How many, hits, how many followers, how many likes did that post get? That is not impact. That's not even answering the question very well. We're simply repeating and saying what happens to be coming out of the dashboards that are easily accessible. We want to get away from that. We want to be deliberate. And so first you have to start with a classic logic model, the digital impact logic model, however you want to define it. But you're going through, for example, with Power Poetry, the largest organization for teens, creating poetry online, a safe place for them to share their work. Well, what they're doing here is the outcome, they're after creating super engaged users so they increase literacy. Well, when you do that, you have certain outputs, certain outcomes. With the outputs, we're measuring things like, amount of poems created, poem, video, action guides watched. You kind of get it in the things that you're creating on that site, the inputs, the things you're putting into the system, the content, the PDF guides, maybe training videos. All of these things go into that makeup. Now, how do we operationalize that? It can be difficult because effectively we are awash with information and data. Like right now, there are just like more numbers being created about your work than you'll ever keep up with. And so in this wealth of information, we have a poverty of attention. Because of these dashboards, because of the different platforms spitting at us, we have to know what to pay attention to, which is why we need to define good indicators. Good indicators, you can look at different books. We like the Smarter, Better, Faster. You can look at Leap of Reason, the acronym SMART. So we're looking at specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, time-bound, and I just threw in valid and understandable. You can create your own, but I think the big one there is measurable. Simply saying we want to increase awareness, not getting you there. We want to help people, no. They need to be numbers. We went from X, we need to get to 2X. That is the kind of things that we're looking for. Now, let's talk about some different models. Some different models that you can use. One we really love at Whole Whale is the impact marketing funnel. You have seen this funnel in some way, shape, or form. If you haven't, welcome. Here's a marketing funnel. At the top, you are inevitably starting with an aware, then you go down to interested, then engaged or action sometimes, and then into committed. Define the layers. Think about the different metrics that flow into those pieces. And then you're going to be able to say, oh, I get it. Because I created the content, then I got the email. Because I got the email, then I got the action or volunteer activity, and then they were committed. They were that much more aware or moving towards your mission. So that's how you can use that model. Well, let's break this down though. So for Power Poetry, you can actually go through this and see the high level awareness, what we're after, the different metrics and numbers. As you move down towards engagement, there are more specific metrics that we can say, are we actually getting more poems, for instance, and engagement there. And then down to the action, deeper involvement, more involvement with regard to maybe teachers. And then finally, are they improved literacy and those components. Use this. Define it for yourself. Think about the overall goal for those layers. Define the metrics for yourself. The metric though, the metric that matters is really key. There's a really great book called Will It Make the Boat Go Faster? Will It Make the Boat Go Faster talks about the Olympic rowing team in the UK that focused on one thing, and they just asked it of everything, and it's, will eating this sandwich make the boat go faster? Will this workout make the boat go faster? And they found that doing this again and again, focusing on the core metric of making the boat go faster, they ended up winning, from going from basically last place in the world's rankings to winning in the 2000 Olympics. And it's a fantastic book, but a fantastic mantra. So find your will it make the boat go faster type of metric and then focus on it. Now, once you've focused on it, it's time to set some stretch goals. Now, this is an example because I'm a runner, but for instance, if I were to say, I want you to run a marathon, you'd be like, okay, that may be a reasonable goal. I could run at whatever speed you want. But if I originally told you to set the goal at qualifying for the Olympics, you know what? I don't know you very well, but I'm willing to bet that you're not in the 0.01% of people that can qualify for the Olympic marathon. So I've set a goal that's way beyond your ability to reach it. And what's more, I have now frustrated you, and I have made sure that almost guaranteed you're not going to be able to go after it. So setting a stretch goal that won't break people is important. And I rifle through, some different metrics. If we were talking about running and you want to geek out, I would care about healthy miles per week, actually, and that's what I would focus on for you. That might be my will it make the boat go faster metric for you. But let's get back to this. Choosing our KPIs. Any more than 3 KPIs, key performing indicators, that you're going after is a circus. I love Drucker's quote on this because it's a reminder that when you focus on everything, you focus on nothing. So picking out these indicators may be unique to you, your department, or at the high level, your organization, making sure that they roll up into them, especially when we're choosing our digital metrics. So the question then is, what are we measuring when it comes to online? Whole Whale created this chart so that you can plot your different elements. So on one side you have importance on the y-axis, and then you have measurability on the x-axis. And inside of here you can then ideally stay above this line. So here are our Facebook emoticons to make sure that you understand what I think about these different areas. Down here, this is where I get a little angry because the easy low-hanging fruit is like, all right, how many page views did I get? What's the reach of our posts? That kind of thing is a little superficial for my taste. So then in the bottom right here, you end up with the hard to measure and low importance to the organization. That's just useless. That just makes me cry. Then you have me amazed when you're at the very high measure, hard to measure, and also high importance. That's fantastic. You're doing, double-blind longitudinal studies and figuring out very advanced ways to track what you're trying to do. But you know what? That can't be done on a regular basis because it's expensive, it's hard. So this is where I'm happy. Above the blue line, places that are high importance to the organization and relevance, that are easier or on the easier side to measure. Now, let's make this practical. With Power Poetry, we talked about them before. With Power Poetry, ultimately, I would love to track literacy improvement. I'd love to be in their backyard seeing, did you go from X to Y? Can you understand the alphabet? Can you express yourself properly via language? Now, that is a hard task to do. There are ways to do it, but in the near term, I am able to say that, you know what I know? If we get more poems and more poets over poems, well, guess what? We're going to have more young people creating this work and getting better, improved literacy acquisition. And that's like a driving metric that we're going to be able to have and be our North Star. Great KPI to focus on. Then at the bottom, sure, I do care about content views, relevant resources that people are accessing. That's easier to measure, and on the relevance scale, I'm being maybe a little hard. So plot your point, use this model as a way to have the conversation. And you know what? Put together a diagram, toss it up for your stakeholders so you can have a conversation and say, hey, I think this metric is here. Maybe someone thinks it's here. You can move it around and play with this idea. Another example, just to show you, Donate Life, a really wonderful organ donation network, the largest in the US, focused on making sure that you're a registered organ donor. By the way, 52% of the humans-ish in the US are registered organ donors, which means there's a 50-50 chance that you are not. So, quick PSA, go be an organ donor, because 93% of people actually say that they would be willing to accept an organ if they needed it. That's a bit of a problem. So, go register. Oh wait. All right, I'll stop waiting.